So this is my apartment, and if you watch my channel, this is the room you've most likely seen in pretty much all of the videos I've made. This is the place where I've spent the last 10 years or so, all of my 20s, a bit of my 30s, which turned out to be the best years of my life so far. I've spent my college years here, started my career, started living with my then girlfriend and now my wife, and somewhat unexpectedly for me, I also started my YouTube channel here. I initially didn't have plans to do videos in here because I didn't really think it was possible since this place is so small. It's a one bedroom apartment, about 450 square feet or 40 meters square. I just started shooting videos in logistically the only place that made sense, and it's this little black IKEA folding table, and to be honest, I don't even remember why or how it all started, but I really enjoyed making videos, and by the time I moved to shooting long format videos, people started watching, so I just kept making them in less than ideal conditions. No space, no appropriate lighting, filming or sound equipment, but despite all of that, I've kept making videos and people just kinda kept watching. And even though it has been hard, mainly because, as you can imagine, doing projects was really frustrating sometimes because all the mess that I had made would be in between our kitchen and bedroom, right smack in the middle, but I just kinda made the best of it. Also, I had no dedicated space to do voiceovers in, so I had to annoy my wife while she was in the other room, but needless to say, she has been nothing but supportive, and I really couldn't have done it without her holding my back.
Oh!
But one more thing that was hard for me was managing all my stuff, since I not only make videos on mostly old hardware, I also collected old PCs, notebooks, games and game consoles, peripherals and other tech knickknacks. And as you can imagine, there really isn't a lot of space for all that in here, and although I do have another storage shed in the basement of this apartment building, it wasn't nearly big enough to house all of it. And so I had my stuff stashed at various places, but now it's finally time to move it all to one location, and I wanted to take this opportunity to take you around, show what I have, and to kind of capture the state of the apartment before I move, since even though it's small, old, it's a typical 60s socialist 5-story brick apartment block, and lacking in many modern qualities, I'm still very attached to it. So I guess this is my little homage to the place I really started my adult life in, and since I don't have too many things in this room apart from my 3D printed models and this little Sony PVM here on this bookshelf, and yeah, I had many questions and comments about the bookshelf itself since people saw it in the background of my videos, and yeah, I kinda shoddily made it myself along with pretty much everything else in here, since back then I didn't have any money and I needed a large bookshelf since I was really into reading and collecting books back then. But for now, let's go in the bedroom where I have a portion of my tech collection. And yeah, this is pretty much the only place where I could showcase a very small percentage of it, and as you can see, it's mostly games, some handheld consoles, and over here around this small TV are a couple of real consoles. Some of these are mainly display pieces. I mean, it's not too common that I use the C64, but some of these I actually use quite often, like the N64, some of the handhelds. I enjoy playing those with my friends and also by myself when I have the time. So I'll start by taking these off the shelves and I'll put them in some boxes to get them ready for their new home, and I'll show you some of them along with the stuff in my closet and that storage chest by the bed. Now, to be honest, most of my game and console collection comes from years before these things got prohibitively expensive, and I guess I started collecting them around 15 years ago, and the reason I did was because, well, back then I couldn't really afford new consoles and games. At the time, all I had was a Nintendo 64 and a PS2. PS3 was way too expensive, and even the Xbox 360 wasn't attainable, so I'd pick up older Nintendo, PlayStation, or even PC games, since they were very cheap and unwanted. Heck, I sometimes even got them for free. And thinking about it, even nowadays when I do have a job and money to buy new releases, I rarely do. In fact, I almost never get brand new games unless someone gets them for me, like for a birthday or something, because the idea of paying like 60-70 bucks for some of these titles just kinda makes me sick to my stomach. If I do get newish games for like a Switch or a PS4, I don't own a PS5 since I don't really see a reason to get one. There are always secondhand ones. I have so many games that I just can't really justify spending that much extra money on another game. I mean, I can just play the ones that I already have, and then I'm sure I'll come across the newer one that interests me somewhere down the line for super cheap. And as with anything you collect, the more stuff you have, the more you get interested in it. So I got into other games and systems just because I was drawn to them, and they were cheap enough so I could go, say, thrifting every once in a while and pick up a couple of titles. I would also find them online on local auctions and marketplaces, and before you knew it, I ran out of space to display them all. So sadly, I had to resort to putting them away in my closet and getting them out when I wanted to play around or later feature them on my channel. And yeah, most of the things I get nowadays are almost exclusively the ones I could use in my videos. So before getting anything, I have to ask myself, can I make a cool video with this thing? And if the answer is no, it's likely I won't get it. Although with collecting, it's not like your regular shopping. If you want to buy, I don't know, a PS5 or a new game, there's really no reason to do it right away. You can always just get it later when it will probably be cheaper, or you can wait for the thing to go on sale. But with these old things, I mean, if you stumble across something at a great price, or I had many instances of people just giving stuff away, you can't say, oh, I'll just wait and get it later once I have more space or something, because it'll be gone. So I was always keen on just jumping on things, and I mean, many things I'm showing you right now were very cheap considering their, market or resale value, and like I've said, some were given to me for free. Also, during my college years, especially after some of this stuff became highly desirable and collectible, I would actually sell off some of my stuff, mostly duplicates. At one point I had like 5-6 Nintendo 64, NES and SNES systems, so I'd bundle them with peripherals and usually a game, and I'd sell it off, not only to make some room, which I desperately needed, but also to make a bit of a profit, which was nice since I made very little money back then. So yeah, even though I do have some duplicate consoles in my collection, they're usually different variants, like I might have a PAL and an NTSC version, or one is modded and the other one is stock or something. Apart from games, consoles, and peripherals, and I mean a ton of power adapters, controllers, video cables, and so on, I do have a couple of computers here, mostly 8 and 16-bit like Commodore, Atari, my Macintosh here, and the reason is because they're quite a bit smaller and also more valuable, and I didn't feel like sticking them in the basement. And apart from those, I do have some notebooks in here too, mostly MacBooks, iBooks, PowerBooks, ThinkPads, a couple of netbooks, and other portables, mainly because they're small enough for me to keep in here, and I also do use them quite often in my videos. Also, to keep all these machines working, I have a ton of spare parts like storage, memory, power supplies, cards of all sorts, but it's all really unorganized since I never really had any proper storage setup in this apartment and no real way of adding it in without changing out the entire layout and everything, and I didn't do that since I knew for the past few years that we'll be moving. I have even mentioned it a couple of times on my channel, but for various reasons that was all kinda delayed until, well, now. And I know people are going to ask, and no, I don't really know how much all of this is worth, and I don't really care, because I'm not planning on selling any of it. Maybe my kids or grandkids will want to sell it off, and I unironically think it's going to be worth a bit of money at that point. I also get questions from people getting into the hobby and asking for tips on where and how to get this stuff, and it very much depends on where you live, but it's likely going to include frequenting your local online marketplaces, running searches for items of interest, maybe going to your local thrift shops or boot fairs, but the most valuable piece of advice I can give you is to look towards the items that are not in the mainstream of collecting. For example, PC games seem to be very cheap for the moment, and also PC towers from the mid-2000s, and also notebooks from the same time period. You can often get those for even free. And people say, but those aren't collectible, and it's crazy because people used to say the same thing about the beige 46 or Pentium towers from the 90s, and they were like the epitome of ugly and boring, and then here they are 30 years later selling for hundreds of dollars because, I don't know, they run DOS games well. Anyways, once I got all of this out, I laid it out in my living room and it was quite a sight. I never had all of it here in one place, I don't think. But yeah, there are no big PC towers in here apart from that Mac Pro sitting under my desk, so it's time to move over to my basement shed where I have a couple more things stashed away. Every apartment in this building has a storage unit, sort of like a little shed, and it's not much. I'd say it's around 4 square meters or around 45 square feet, but for me it proved invaluable since I could offload some of the collection in here, along with other crap that was left in the apartment before I came in and doesn't really belong to me, but that's a different story. Anyway, the lighting in here is kinda hopeless and there's no real room to film either, so I have you out here in the hallway with the wide angle lens, so hopefully you'll see what I'm hauling out. And most of these are just random old towers and desktops of various specs and time period. Some of these are earlier 386, 486 or Pentium systems, while others are Pentium 3 and 4 boxes, along with some newer ones like Intel Core machines, some AMD Athlon stuff, and some other more modern random boxes I just got for very cheap or free. And again, it's so ridiculous when I hear people say that some of the stuff I feature on the channel will never become collectible since it's so common and boring. Like, look around, man. If these old HPs and compacts manage to become desirable again, there's no way that's not going to happen with all of the rest of them. Guaranteed. But yeah, there are also a crapload of just old keyboards, monitors, even TVs, modern ones, and then I have a couple of these smaller PBMs, headphones, PC games, cards, and a lot of these are kind of valuable nowadays. I do have some old Sound Blasters and some desirable 8-bit and 16-bit ISA video cards, and this basement really isn't the worst place to store it since it's dark and surprisingly not damp. The only thing people were saying is that it can get stolen. And while I do understand people's concerns, theft really isn't as common here where I live, and while it does happen, thieves are mostly interested in stuff they can sell off and move fast, while most of the stuff here is really not worth a lot of money to most people, and it really takes up a lot of space. I bet many people are watching this thinking most of this is just junk, and objectively, yeah, you're probably right, but that's what makes it really easy to collect, since most people just discard old electronic junk like this, but I find it fascinating and worth saving. Anyways, once I got enough stuff out, I formed a little pile and started hauling it to my car, which I had parked right outside the building. And yeah, this is what my car looked like once filled with the stuff from the shed, and while it's not terribly safe, it's not like I'm overloading it. The maximum load capacity is over 1,000 pounds for this car, and I wasn't hauling it too far off. But if you're confused as to where I'm going to put all that, and also where all my cool Mac towers and other computers you might have seen in my videos, well, in the past months I've slowly been moving to my new location, and just recently I made some progress in the basement over there. This is me and my sister organizing it all since it had a bunch of family stuff, also a lot of negative prints from my dad, who's a photographer. But after a lot of work, we've managed to clear it out and organize it so I could have the space for all of my stuff, and, well, here it is. At the moment, most of my collection is stored in this large basement space, which is on the bottom floor of our house, which we're currently moving into. And yeah, this is not where this stuff is going to be permanently. I'm currently setting up a new dedicated space where I'll have like a more proper studio, but also a room where I can actually have more of this stuff on display. The studio space is right around the corner actually, which is... I can't even explain in words the pain I had to go through when I needed to dig out anything at all from that basement shed, and even if finding it wasn't bad enough, once I did, I had to schlep it up to the 5th floor since we had no elevator, and it sucked so much ass. And now to be able to just go here and see everything laid out and pick what I need, take a couple of steps to my studio, man, I'm just so excited to properly organize all of this, like to have everything in its place, video cards, sound cards, memory, storage, keyboards, mice, parts, just, can't wait to do all that. Okay, so I just haul all of this stuff into my new basement, and yeah, this is where I have the stuff stored at the moment. So I just wanted to give you a quick tour and kind of show you what we have and where stuff is. So in this first corner we have some random towers along with most of my Power Macs. These are all various G4s here. And I'm just gonna point out a couple of interesting items. This is an early iMac G3. This is my Vectrex, for which I made a controller recently. This is my Macintosh SC, and then we have our Sunflower Macs here at the top. I also do have a couple of cool boxed items like this Atari 800 XL. Up here we also have my Macintosh LC2 along with the matching monitor. This is a box for my iBook G3. Here are some more modern Apple boxes I just happen to have. This is a Super Famicom boxed unit, Japanese one, also a Japanese Nintendo 64. This is a boxed PlayStation 1. This is my Atari 1040 ST. Very cool. And an boxed Xbox 360. I also do have some more boxes here. So this is a boxed NES, boxed PS3, SNES, Commodore 64 along with the 1530 data set, and then here some of my laptops. Most of them didn't fit and they're in boxes. I also have random laptops scattered here and there. Also some towers here, and down there we have our Power Mac G5s and also Mac Pros. And also a bunch of these iMacs, and these are the Core 2 Duo models, the early ones, and also I have a couple of G5s here, and then there's the early aluminum version. Also have a couple of TVs, backup TVs there, just LCDs. The one in the back is the one that I did the video on recently that I trash picked. So I have a bunch of games everywhere. These are the PS2 ones and also some other ones here as well. Here are my Mac Minis. These are all the SNES and N64 games and Nintendo consoles, handhelds that we got from my apartment. Here in this corner, we also have some more covers. Down at the bottom is the eMac because it's freaking heavy, doesn't fit anywhere else. On this side I have my monitors. These are some smaller PBMs, color PBMs I have for my own game systems. And then up here I have a couple of old Apple monitors. This is one of them. And then down there we have our cinema display. I also have a bunch of things in boxes that you really can't see. For example, this is a box, the Amiga 500. And here, for example, I have a bunch of optical drives, just a bunch of DVD, CD burners, also laptops, cards that are just packaged away. Also just a bunch of boxes here, down there, here, and yeah, they all have either some games, cards, peripherals, adapters, cables. So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff here. The rest of this basement actually also has a lot of my family stuff, just photos and books and other things that I've tried organizing the best I can, and it's still not perfect, but at least I've managed to clear it out so I can fit my stuff in here. And yeah, in this corner, yeah, it's really dark because I don't have good lighting solutions at the moment, but yeah, you can see that down there we have a couple of TVs, CRT monitors. This is an arcade monitor I have for you'll see what. And then here we also have a bunch of LCDs, just old LCDs, just peripherals and keyboards and boards and cables and all sorts of things. Really, as it is, you can't really see much of it because it's just scattered and in boxes. Also some laptops down there, but yeah, this is all going to get organized, and by the time I'm done setting up my new office, hopefully you'll be able to see all of these things much more organized than they are now. So yeah, this basement is pretty much well filled up with my collection, and it's really nice to see it here out in the open because this was all just stashed away in closets. So to see it somewhat semi-organized it really motivates me to try organizing this even better, and hopefully by the next time I make a video talking about my collection, it's all gonna be nice and organized. I also have some other interesting stuff here. I have a couple of arcades that need to be fixed up. This is a Sega Hang-On arcade, which yeah, I got for basically free, but it's in pretty rough shape, and I don't know if it works or not because I haven't gotten around to testing it yet. Same with this old Apple time. It's a very interesting arcade cabinet, and hopefully I'll be doing a video also fixing this one. But I do have a working unit that I fixed up with my boys a couple of summers ago, and yeah, this is the space in which I'll have my office eventually. But as you'll see, it's in a pretty rough shape. But yeah, I do have a functional arcade system here, which I guess we can turn on and play for a bit. And like I've said, I'll make separate videos on my arcade systems once I get around to fixing them, but this one I have is set up with a Pandora Box DX multi-ROM JAMA card, and it has a whole buttload of games you can choose from, and arcade collectors absolutely hate these things, but it's honestly really convenient, and we had hours of fun playing various different titles, especially when I host parties and have friends or kids over. And yeah, in here I have a dedicated monster of a CRT, which was probably the best TV you could have gotten around 2005. A 32-inch Sony Vega with the original stand and everything. Yeah, this thing will be absolutely awesome to play all these old games on. Really a son of a bitch to get down there and move. Takes like 3 people, but totally worth it. And oh, I tried counting up all the individual PC and game systems like towers, notebooks, consoles, and so on, and if you add it all up, yeah, it comes up to like 200 plus units, not even counting all the games, software, peripherals, and other stuff I have in my collection. So if you're interested in what that will all look like once it's organized and in my new office, and if you want to follow along, and also if you're interested in some or all of the stuff you've seen in this video, you might want to consider subscribing. I do videos on this sort of stuff every week. Reviews, restorations, repairs, retrospectives, and all sorts of nerdy tech stuff. If you'd like to support what I do, you can do so on Patreon for just $1 a month, or more if you'd like. If you'd like to chat with me and other users, you can join our Discord server. All the links will be in the video description. Also, let me know what piece of tech did you like the most from this video, or what do you have in your retro collection? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.